This episode of SESSLER'S Something is brought to you by Netflix. Hello everyone, and thank you to everyone who watched and donated during our Extra Life drive for 25 hours. A really big tip of the hat to Zach Miner for actually enduring the entire 25 hours. I can't do that. But we are going to be taking some of that context. There were some great moments. Me playing with a 6-year-old who taught me Minecraft, and Scott Bromley playing with a 6-year-old who really likes the Star Trek game, in addition to the Stanley Parable, a brand new look at a level from XCOM, Enemy Within, in addition to me actually breaking down and playing Kingdom Hearts for the first time in over a decade. Yeah, this face says it all. With that in mind, I also want to alert you, there's a fun new show coming out with Anthony Carboni and Tara Long this week called Hard Science. I've seen it. It is completely awesome. It's on our test tube channel. We'll have a link for you when that's available. Okay, so let's talk about Xbox One, PlayStation 4, resolution. That has been the big kind of furor going on. This all stems from the acknowledgement from Infinity Ward that Call of Duty Ghosts will be playing at native 1080p on the PlayStation 4 and will be an up-resed version of 1080p on the Xbox One. I think this came as a shock to a lot of people. It definitely kind of carved out more ground in the console wars and the fanboyisms going around. But you know what I find quite fascinating about it is I think that this is an issue that didn't need to happen had various publishers, EA, Microsoft themselves, Sony, this pushing of 1080p and 60 frames a second as this definition of what next-gen gaming is going to be. It has been uttered since before E3, and to suddenly sort of, you know, when all that positioning is based upon this benefit of the aesthetics of the game, it's really not even the aesthetics, it's just the resolution of the game, and things fall short, yeah, it seems like there's something wrong. But I think on some level, not completely, there is something of a MacGuffin there. We're gonna have some content coming up later this week that will further explain what I'm saying here now, but I've seen some games that are not at 1080p, and I wouldn't know that. In fact, they're incredibly good-looking games, and that there was never a need to try to make resolution such a definitive aspect of what next-generation gaming is going to be. And also, I think it was a bad idea. The PlayStation 3 really pushed 1080p because of the Blu-ray, and of course the movies were doing that, but we've only had a handful of games that are in proper 1080p coming off of that console, and it was quite a shock at the launch of the PlayStation 3 to see things falling a little bit short of that. And it is disappointing to see the same problem happen again, because it really takes the attention away from what is, I think, most important about what's going to be happening with games in this generation. And it's not just that raw technical power, it's still game design. And one of the things I still want to see the most out of the increased computational power of these consoles is what happens that's a little more subtle, a little more under the surface. And that's a lot of what's happening with the artificial intelligence, where suddenly we're going to start to see more independent AI, and ideally the animations that go with it. Also, aesthetics. I still want a game to look interesting more than I want to have it look better than any other game that I've ever played. This whole idea, and once again I go back to, it goes back to the marketing of the consoles and the games that we're going to play on these consoles that really kind of took our eye off that, in the sense of my console is better than yours. Yeah, there might be more horsepower. There definitely is more horsepower under the hood of the PlayStation 4, but it still comes down to the games that we're going to play on them, and that's something that just won't be clear probably until the end of 2014. All right, let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Netflix. Netflix lets you stream your favorite movies and shows straight to your home without having to deal with one of those pesky cable companies. As long as you have an internet connection and a Netflix-enabled device, you're good to go. You can support Red 3 games and sign up for a free trial membership by heading to netflix.com/something. All right, so the other thing I wanted to chat about, this is a little bit older, but I wanted to chime in on it. Day one patches. Oh no, my console's got a day one patch. And you know what, I actually kind of get some of the, like, yeah, I don't know what to do with that, how I'm supposed to read that after the experience of the Wii U. The patch itself really wasn't the problem. It was the way that the patch was applied and that you didn't know if you were actually updating or if your system had frozen and many people unplugged it and it bricked their system. That was more of the frustration around it. I don't think we're seeing anything similar with either the Xbox One or the PS4. But this is one that I have to be honest, I give a big shrug to. making this hardware, because it is such a mixture of both software and hardware, I can see that you gotta know what the system's gonna be like, but then you consistently iterate on what the firmware and what the software is gonna be like, heading closer and closer to what that launch date is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an improvement. And to want to only have a console that doesn't offer improvements, things have been discovered in the ensuing months, is a little bit, well, kind of strange. Yeah, it sounds like people didn't know what they were doing in the beginning, but I have a fairly good insight into what it is like to make a game. I have less insight in what it is like to make a console, but it's definitely kind of, well, it's like pushing further and further into the West in the 19th century. You don't know what's on the other side of that crest. If there's a bear there that's gonna take your face off or anything like that. And if it is kind of treated with a degree of caution so everyone can sort of set up shop and have a happier home life eating gruel, well, you know, I'm all for it. All right, guys, so also on Wednesday, we have a lot of preview content of Xbox One games and the Xbox One, including an interview with Phil Spencer. Please stay tuned. The best way to find out when this stuff drops, hit that subscribe button. Do it now.